Looking for real stories that lift you up? Welcome to Inspire and Impact, the podcast where purpose meets perseverance. This is where transformation begins and your story continues.
Welcome to the Inspire and Impact podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rosenstein. Today I have the honor of interviewing Dan MacQueen. Dan, thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Hey, Daniel, thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dan, can you share a little bit about us, about yourself with the audience?
Yeah, I'd love to, Daniel. Thank you. I'm a brain injury survivor, sportsman, avid traveler, master's graduate. What makes my story compatible with your podcast is my experience after a brain injury in 2014 in jolly old London, England.
Oh, thank
Would
you
you
so
like
much.
me to? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing about that. I'm sorry, let's say something more.
I'm happy to dive into that if you want me to, or I can take it.
Yeah, you might tell us a little bit more, like what happened? You had a brain injury that obviously changed your life.
Yeah, so living in London, England, working in tech, late nights, big nights out. We had a keg at the office. So when that dried up, we'd go to the pubs and stagger home on the bus at 3 o'clock in the morning. Living paycheck to paycheck. Life was pretty fast and loose, man. And I started having these headaches, and they got worse after a few weeks. Painkillers like candy for them, my head was pounding. So on the tube one day, the tube station zigzagged around London, lumbering towards Nine Hill Gate tube station on the district line. The slow roll at the best of times. Headaches got so bad, my vision turned starry and I saw spots. They slowly started to fade to black. It was a race to see who could arrive at the station first, me or the blindness. Arrived at Nine Hill Gate tube station, stepped onto the platform, mind the gap, and the lights went out. I couldn't see a thing. So Daniel, I want to ask you, able-sighted guy your whole life, all of a sudden you're thrust into the depths of blindness, the station is swirling around you. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you do?
I'll probably be freaking out if that happened to me. I'll probably be very confused and not sure what's happening and be kind of upset.
That's a fair response, and I was the same way, but I said absolutely nothing. I froze there like a statue. The station swirling around me, the station still in my nostrils. I can't see a thing. After the longest 3 minutes of my life, my vision comes back, and I carry on my day. But the next day, I go storming back into A&E. A&E is accident emergency in the UK, like ER in Canada, United States. I told them what the hell's going on here. I was blind on a tube station in London. This is not normal. They ran some more tests, and again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. On the way out, they told me I could always get my eyes checked by an optometrist. Optometrist, that's kind of odd, but I'm not a doctor. I don't plan to play one now, so sure, why not? Next day, the headache came back with a vengeance, and I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stopped the exam. Excused himself from the room, and he comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope which hands me. He told me to go directly to Moorfields Hospital, which I did. Daniel, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, phone charger to Mike Teat. Then I arrived at Moorfields Hospital, had in the envelope. They ran the same test there again, then escalated me up to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere. I'm thinking, this is positive. This is a good sign. We're figuring out what's going on here. Now, it turns out, Daniel, I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my peanut gland. This prevented the fluid in my brain to drain as it normally would, causing the pressure to mount up, causing vision issues, causing headaches. Turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Turns out my world to change altogether. So after a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom received reads, "I'll see you soon, Mom. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dad." Mom's in there flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong, and I have a massive bleed in the brain. A brain hemorrhage. I think the cyst burst when they operated. So Mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks. I was in out of consciousness for months after this. Things were pretty dicey, touch and go. So I woke up 4 weeks later. Mom, Dad, and brother on the bed. Trying to talk, but I can't talk. Tracheotomy, I'd fried my vocal cords. I go, give me a pen and paper. Put in the pen and paper, I go, get me out of here. And showed my brother a cam and point to him. You make this happen. He says, what do you want me to do, man? One eye's wonky as hell. Your leg is atrophied. You couldn't walk. hooked up to tubes and hoses. So my reality came shattering down in an instant. And I was forced to rebuild my life from square one after the brain hemorrhage. So that was rather abrasive. One day, active, healthy, active guy. Next day, clinging to life in a coma. Next day, being woken up and being told, hey, this is what had happened to you, Dan. This is your new reality now. So life came crashing to a halt, and everything became about surviving and trying to rebuild my life slowly but surely. So it was very abrasive and very sudden.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. I mean, obviously it impacted your life, but what was going through your mind at that time? Were you like, how did you handle it? I mean, it's such a, shock.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good question. I think I realized it wasn't a good situation to be in, right? But I quickly realized that what I frame this up as now will determine how I recover. And if I go down the woes, me, pity spiral, I'm going to be, you're not wrong. It's not fair that it happened to me. But guess what? Life's not fair and things happen in life. But I framed it up as like an opportunity to rebuild and build myself back up, and took rehab on as a struggle, as a challenge, as a better way to improve myself day in, day out. I was never negative in the hospital. My friends always said they came to visit me, you were never negative, never a chore to visit you, Dan. Inside, I was a bit, woes me about this, but I never showed that outwardly. I was never, this isn't fair to anyone else. And I quickly realized that it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to them matters. And I slowly started really building my life back up. Get in the wheelchair in 45 minutes, not 50. Next week I do 40, not 45. Then 35, not 40. Incremental improvements, trying to build myself back up and get in the wheelchair 5 minutes faster than the week before. This took a mindset. This took drive. This took grit. But the mindset above all else to think that I get to do this and, I've got to continue to build myself back up. I could have died in that coma, Daniel. Thought's not lost to me today. Like I should be dead by now, given what happened to me, but I'm not. I get a chance to rebuild myself back up and build myself back up after this injury. So it's reframing the obstacles as opportunities and reframing yourself as I get to do this helps a lot.
I'm really glad you came here on the show to share like your experiences and stuff. I think it's really important. I wanted to ask you, I mean, how did it feel like you went through this coma and like you almost had to relearn how to talk and walk? I mean, well, I assume that was very difficult, right? But at the same time, you said you were still positive about it. Like you weren't negative.
Yeah, so I realized like that this injury could have killed me, right? I should be dead. On paper, I should be dead. But I'm not dead. And I realized, okay, now I can rebuild my life and get myself back up. So learning how to talk again was quite interesting because the nurse got a hold of this file my parents had built for me when I was in the coma, who Dan is. Dan's a master's graduate. He's a soccer and hockey fan. He's a football player. He's a master's graduate. He was a girlfriend, Demi. They kind of paint this picture of who Dan is, right? She read this file. She goes, I'll get Dan talking again. Took me down to the park. Some kids playing football, soccer across the park. She goes, damn, those kids across the park. They don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk. And I found out pretty quickly that's a trigger for me. And I yelled across the park some profanities will start your new team today. But needless to say, I found out one of my motivational factors is proving you wrong. And I yelled across the park some profanities, but I'm not good enough to be here? Cool. Let me show you. Let me prove you wrong. Harnessing these motivational horses, as I call them, allows me to move forward in a way that's forward. Doesn't have to be positive and altruistic and like this happy-go-lucky place of motivation. No, use the fuel that works. Now, proving you wrong burns hot, man. And it's a very toxic place to have motivation come for a long time. I've now transitioned motivation to more of the service-based approach. Lend a hand. Your success is my success. My success is your success. When I frame it up that way, this interaction is not over when this conversation is done, but I'll cheer you on going forwards. When I prove you wrong, once I beat you, Daniel, and with all due respect, I'll beat you. It's over. It evaporates like it was never there. Motivation disintegrates into thin air like a whisper. So understanding what drives you is a huge part of this. And for me, I've got service, proving you wrong, and proving you right are my three main horses that I call. And the more you can harness at the same time, the further you can go. You can harness all three at the same time if you wish. But understanding what drives you is very important. And don't judge the motivation. That's the most important lesson from this. Don't judge the motivation. Ride the wave that comes because the next wave may not be for a while. And Use that to fuel you and propel you forwards.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing all that. What do you think was like the biggest mindset shift you had to make in your healing journey?
Yeah, that's a great question, Daniel. And I'll share a story about this, about learning to walk and tune Broadway. So, Daniel, have you been to London, England?
No, I haven't.
All right. So, Tune Broadway is an area in South London. An area they call up and coming. Think loud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boy, is it busy. Walk with a cane and walk with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn the corner to walk on the high street for the first time. Immediately get slammed into by someone. I stagger back a few feet. Someone scurries past me on the right-hand side. I thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking this is a pretty wild place to learn to walk. After a few days, I was thinking this is the worst place to learn how to walk in the world. Can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place to learn how to walk in the world. Or maybe this is the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. It probably didn't change, right? It went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life you're convinced is the worst? Convinced is the absolute worst. Hey, maybe it is. Maybe I can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit, shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan to get punched in the mouth. Now your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? It will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you, a loved one. You will take that punch in the mouth. How you respond? I'm offering a compass, not a map with a compass. It always points towards true north. Look at things like mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks that allow you and your team, better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan MacQueen. And the reason why I told this story about learning to walk and tune Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world, look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. So I share this story with you, Daniel, to showcase perspective and just how much that can help frame up your recovery and journey. The worst, no, the best. That made all the difference. Those walks in Tune Broadway were arduous, grinding, stressful, frustrating. After this mindset shift, I began to look forward to them. Bump into me, crash fast, and good, bring it on. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. And that subtle shift made all the difference for me. And in life, you're going to be faced with adversity and setbacks, and it's all about how you reframe and frame up things, how to face them and to serve you. So that's my best lesson and my best story about how I've harnessed this in my recovery.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, you mentioned like you are like a very performance-driven person. You have that type of personality. I think you got to strive to get better. How did it shape your like recovery? Like you said, like you're trying to get back to your wheelchair faster and faster over time. I mean, do you think that's like important to have that type of mindset where it's like, hey, I constantly want to improve upon myself no matter the situation I'm in now?
I think it's important to have. I don't know if it's necessary, but for me, it helps certainly. Because competition drives me every day, right? And that subtle goal change of let's try and get in 50 minutes, not 45, or 45, not 50, and then 40, not 45, gave me purpose, gave me something to aim for and to shoot for. And like to have goals to aim at is very important to have. I'll share a story about goal setting that helps frame this up in a more illustrative way. So I've been at Wilson Rehab Center for 3 months and a chance for a home visit came up. Hadn't been home in 4 months. And the only thing that stood between me and the way of having a home visit were the stairs near the back of my flat in Hammersmith. As my mom put it, there must be 100. Actually, there's 44 stairs, Daniel. 44 stairs didn't sound like much, but keep in mind I was fresh out of a wheelchair, and that seemed like a rather tall order. Began trying the stairs in the hospital, building way up to 44. 44 was all I needed to have a weekend away, a weekend out of that dreary hospital. I set the goal for myself, or rather it was set for me. Come hell or high water, I was making up those 44 stairs back home. Over the course of a few weeks, building my way to 44 stairs and was back home. Home sweet home, man, that was a good feeling. I set this goal for myself, rather set for me. Like, was it 100 stairs or was it 44? What are you aiming at? It was 44 stairs, right? And that made all the difference because I could do 44 stairs. It wasn't 100. But like by reframing goals as what they actually are, you can structure them in a way that you can be successful. And that's, I think, half the battle. understand what you're aiming at, and you can really attack that specifically and accomplish that goal. Because this seemed insurmountable at the time, but I managed to get those 4 stars and love back home. I made the best BLT sandwich of my life, Daniel, at the top of those 4 stars. And it was a massive triumph and a massive step in my recovery to showcase myself that I could do this. If I set my eyes on a goal, I can make this happen and accomplish this. So I think goal setting is quite key for this, Daniel.
So what advice can you give to somebody? Like I found out, I meet people from all walks of life and I meet a lot of people. What would you say to somebody, or what advice can you give to somebody who's like complaining about their life, but they have a job, they have a family, but the job isn't really what they really want to do, but they have everything else they need, but they're always complaining, it's like, hey, my job isn't fulfilling. What advice can you give to somebody like that?
3 words: better than yesterday. Micro wins are huge, right? Stack these up and just look to be better than yesterday on facets of life, morning routine, how you perform at work, how you show up for your family. Get the small wins and build that momentum. Momentum's so key for this. You got to move in the right direction. It's so much easier to keep it moving than it is to stop and start again. But to keep things moving and they constantly aim to be better than yesterday, you can move things forward and accomplish massive gains. Now, in terms of job satisfaction, I can't make that satisfying for you, but you can start pursuing activities that might be of interest to you. Podcasting, sports activities. I'm very big into physical stuff, so I love to enjoy sports and swimming. I'd say mood follows action. Get into your body. You got one meet view goal, treat it properly. So better than yesterday and get into your body, I think, are key things to help you level up in life, and I think they'll serve your audience well.
Can you maybe share with the audience, do you have any sort of daily mental habits or rituals you do every day to keep you optimistic and hopeful?
Yeah, so every day I start out with a morning routine that I've not perfected, but I've tinkered with since day one. I'll wake up, I'll go make my bed. First thing I'll do is go make my bed. Make my bed for 2 main reasons. It's the first task you accomplish in the day. Second is you pave the way for more success. Last thing you do today is get into bed. Hey, I accomplished it in the morning. Then I go into the shower, and the shower cold. 1 to 3 minutes, nothing heroic here. Go into the struggle willingly and prove yourself that you can do hard things. I'll get out and I'll do push-ups. I'm doing 50 now, but you do whatever you can do, or it can be jumping jacks or squats or whatever you want to do, but get into your body, move follows action. Then I'll meditate for 20 minutes. And in that meditation, I'll also work on some speech and language stuff. So I'll practice saying some speech and language stuff to get my more enunciation out there. And then I'll finish that, take my vitamins, then I'll start my day. Every day is the same because it helps remove saves my bandwidth for stuff that's important and stuff I can control. If it's a non-negotiable, I do this every morning. I don't think about it. I'm not using bandwidth to think about what I'm doing. I know my morning's the same way every day. And you can build it up in that way. So that morning routine served me well. But also physical. I'm quite big into the gym, the swimming. I swim 3 times a week at the pool. Low impact way to get exercise. Also, no outside influence, no traffic, no music, no podcasts. Save those pesky backstrokers, Daniel. Don't get me started with the pesky backstrokers. But the pool is a lovely place because it's just your breath. You're in the water. You're just pounding out your laps. I got a lap counter which counts your laps. And I'll do 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 laps. And I'll just do those laps. And I always lap no matter what. Unless it's the backstroking lane, then I can punt the laps entirely. But I also go in the sauna afterwards. Got a new one for the sauna I'll share with you and your team here today. I'll get in the sauna. I'm in there for 10 minutes. It's a public sauna, so nothing crazy here. We're probably, I don't know what the temperature is, but it's not heroic, but it's hot. And I'll be in there for 10 minutes. I'll be sweating buckets, and I'm like, I'm not the nice one on the sauna. In my head, I say this out loud. I look around, who's the next one on the sauna? I'm not the next one out, but I'm always right behind that person. I've lost this game once, Daniel, in the past 6 months. Me and this one lady were in the sauna together, and I go, you know what? I can take her. But she was lying down. Lying down in the sauna users are always the ones you be wary of, Daniel. They got stamina for days. So besides her, I've never lost this game. But I proved to myself that I do what I say I'm going to do. You don't get confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but you get confident by keeping promises yourself, as Alex Hormozy says. So stack these wins and prove to yourself that you do what you say you're going to do, day in, day out, week in, week out, month out. You build this up And you flex this muscle by actively doing it day in, day out. You can flex resilience. You can flex this belief in yourself that you can do these things, right? But only by putting the work can you make these gains and these reach these goals that you're aiming for.
Now, in your point of view, what's the difference between surviving and thriving? And how can you, tell people how can you advise the people how they can go from, surviving to thriving?
Surviving to thriving. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Daniel, this made sense looking back at the situation. Everything did make sense looking back. The dots lined up looking back. Going forwards, I was looking to survive. But I was looking at how I can improve myself and get myself better. I read books like Tim Ferriss, Mentor, got a book of like daily habits that like important people use. I started compiling what I could do in my morning routine to build up myself that would allow myself to be better than yesterday. And I created this makeshift morning routine based on those habits and hacks, and just continues to do that, whether or not I feel like it day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out. And that's how you get better than yesterday and thrive and not just survive, but intentionally challenging yourself to fail and pushing through the failure and getting better at things that you're doing. If you're not failing, what are we doing here? If you're not trying to the point where you can't make it, what's the point of doing it? You're not getting that much better. You're just surviving, right? I want to thrive. So you got to push yourself to thrive.
So, I mean, what advice can you give to people when they feel like a failure? Let's say like you talked a lot about sports. So somebody's like trying to be good at sports, but they feel like they're not achieving their goals. Like, what can you like advise them on like people who feel like a failure?
Aim small, miss small. What I mean with this is if your goals are so audacious you can't reach them, just lower your goals. I don't miss my goals now because I know that I can achieve them. I've lowered the bar so little that it's such a small step to reach the goal that I know I can do it. So if you're reaching for goals that are way inside of your remit, you're going to get distraught when you don't reach those goals. But if you lower the goal of what you're expecting, know that you can hit that, succeed, and then scale the goal up again and again. So by aiming small, missing small, you're only reaching this little bit, but that little bit stacks on top of each other after doing this for about a year or two. And before you know it, you'll be doing what you want to accomplish. But aim small, miss small is what I'd suggest to your group.
Can I ask you, like, what are some like biggest life lessons you've learned from having a coma and a brain injury?
There's this lovely slide I used in my last deck, Manufacturer Safety Alliance, that shows my life in weeks. I just turned 39 last week, so quickly approaching that midway point in my life. And it showed all the weeks of what I've lived and what's coming up in the future, and it's about halfway through the mark. The odds of being a human being are 400 trillion to 1, Daniel. 400 trillion to 1. More likely to win the lotto 10 times in your order of life in the first place. You get to do this. I'm only Dan MacQueen because it's my DNA. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be me. And I wouldn't trade myself for the world. The struggle, the strife, the laugh, the love, the heartbreak, the joy, like I've experienced it all. And I get to do this because of this experience. I'm only alive because this is my DNA. So when you frame it up in that capacity, like, I'm not going to muck the hand because this happened to me. I'm going to play the hand I've got. So I invite your listeners to play the hand they've got and make it the best damn hand you can. Don't muck the hand because you don't see on the cards. You get a hand in the first place. The odds of that are 400 trillion to 1. Enjoy that, reframe that, and get after it.
You mentioned like on your website about gamifying, recovery. Can you maybe explain to us what does that mean? Like you kind of gamify your recovery.
Yeah, for sure. So I built these hacks. I'm a speaker now, a keynote speaker, right? And I started speaking to outpatients in my old rehab center in Wilson, and I'm not sure about in Roehampton, where they moved now. I give some keynotes there for them, or some talks to them for them. And we talked about gamifications. I gave them some hacks. So I'll give you a hack now. So I call this icebreakers. When you're in a busy area, you want to find an icebreaker. Someone walk in your direction and you walk right behind them. Let them break the ice for you. When you're going to brain injury, your bandwidth is less. My battery is about 75% compared to yours. If I walk behind someone, I can limit the bandwidth I'm spending on walking through and wading through the muck. I just coax off their work and their tails. Gamification there. Also got one called Betting on the Pony. So I get on the tube every day after work. And I try to box out seats that I thought people were getting off at the stops ahead. So I'd get on the tube and I'd start betting on people I thought were getting off at the stops ahead of me so I could sit down and take a load off. When I was able to sit in the tube, I could really recharge the battery and refresh myself and not worry about bumping into people. Helped a lot. I also used to walk with a cane, so like the load was difficult to manage and balance on the tube, right? Start finding games and start finding ways you can approach life in a more gamified manner. And life becomes more fun with it. It's a play item, not a hard, I have to do this item, but a play item is quite cool. I've got a podcast, Daniel, called Play Loose, Look Tight, Document the Personal Life After. I'll walk through what that means with you. It's a bit convoluted. Play loose is the first word. Joie de vivre, have fun. Play is the first word by intention. Life's about playing. If you're not playing, what's the point of life? If you're not having fun, don't go through the motions. You want to play. Conversely, you want to look tight. Be on time with your dress and demeanor. Be prepared. Be professional. Play loose, look tight is a life mantra in 4 words. And play is the first word by intention, and plays into gamification as well.
So, like in life, like everybody has good days and bad days. What are some like the hacks or tools you use when things, you're not having a great day? It's kind of like an off day.
Meditation's quite big for me. When I get stressed or anxious, I'll meditate, recharge myself, get myself focused, and just recharge the batteries. Fatigue's the biggest issue I face now, and that's about managing my battery. After this podcast, I'll take a nap for an hour. I've run this through trial and error. I've run this through pushing through and failing. But being self-aware of what you can do and what you can accomplish and what makes you go is very important. And I don't think you can get there unless you do fail, unless you do falter, unless you do stumble. But I know now what makes my body tick and what makes myself go, and the battery is the most important thing. So sleep is number 1, 2, and 3 for me. And I have to respect the battery at all times. I think being self-aware allows you to navigate the change in a successful manner. But that takes reps, that takes failure, that takes attempts to be better and to fail. Only by risking failure can you understand what this is going to mean for you. But I think it's really worth their time to fail and to try this out and experience for yourself.
I also saw on your website that one of the goals that you are working on, I don't know if you achieved it yet, is like you want to ski. Is that still like a goal of yours, or have you tried that? Skiing?
Yeah, so it's a good memory, a good goal setting strategy. So I skied actually a couple of years ago in 2022. So I'll map this out for you so you understand what I'm talking about. Early days in the rehab center at Charing Cross Hospital, I was working on the even bars in the rehab team. Now, even bars they sound like even bars you hold when you're unstable on your feet. Nurses were asking me what I was most looking forward to get back to doing. Thought about this big question. I used to play a lot of sports: soccer, hockey, volleyball, softball, skiing. I thought about it. What was most difficult to get back to doing? Skiing would be the most difficult about it. Balance, core strength, depth perception. Double vision would make things interesting. Engaging obstacles with speed. If I could see again, I'd have to be a pretty way physically. I told them I want to ski again. They paused. Their eyes betrayed them. They nodded in agreement. Okay. There's no way they thought I'd be skiing again, right? But I have this goal in my head. 2022. The last time I skied was in 2012. So 2022, we got geared up. We're on the hill. And I ripped it. And I ripped it like I never missed a day. I used to be a ski racer. I used to be a ski instructor. Hadn't skied in 10 years. And I skied like I never missed a day. Remember the old hacks in the instruction to pretend your poles in your hand like this and your upper body's calm and your lower body's acting like a duck? And man, I shredded like I hadn't missed a day in the sunshine, on a green, on a blue, not on a blacks like I used to, but it was still pretty damn good and still pretty happy days. I'm not going to lie to you there, I know. But a moonshot goal that when I said it out loud, it seemed laughable. It seemed there's no way Dan can get back to doing this. They humored me and said, sure, why not? Let's try to get back to doing this. And man, I ripped it. Now, I've only skied once since that happened. I had eye surgery last year, which kind of boggled things up. I'm back wearing the eye patch again, which is not ideal. But once this gets resolved, or at least more solidified, I'll try going skiing again. But it's a moonshot goal that I accomplished, and something I didn't think would be possible when I first got into the injury. But like I said, big, hairy, audacious goals. aim for that. But I ratcheted it up to a point where I knew that I could be successful doing this. I was a bit nervous when I got on the slopes if I'm going to make this work, but I did. Because I had done like the core work, the body, the balance and depth perception and stuff like this. Visualized it time in, time out. So yeah, like I took that shot and I nailed it. But this is after years of rehab and work and framing things up in a way that can be successful. So thank you for bringing that up, Daniel. That was a great memory.
I mean, what was going through your mind when you did go skiing? Did you feel like you were having a thrill because that brought back like old memories? You said you used to be a skiing instructor. Did you feel like that was a huge accomplishment when you went skiing a few years ago?
Absolutely. This was something that I was aiming for 10 years. Something I said out loud in the injury room in the rehab center that, they said, yeah, sure. But their eyes betrayed them so much. They were just like, yeah, okay. Good luck, dude. And man, I shredded it like I never missed a day. It was the best day I've had since a brain injury. Because the goal I called and I nailed it. But only by ratcheting it up can I get to a point where I could actually accomplish this. On the ride up, I was nervous because I thought to myself, what if it doesn't come back? It'll come back, right? And sure enough, I got on the slopes and it was there. Like I never missed a day. But life's about these goals. Now, I know I said aim small, miss all the start. Aim small, miss all the start. But have these big overarching goals as well. But like, I didn't get there by just doing nothing or skiing one day. I did this by working on my core strength, working on a balance board, visualizing day in, day out, and like really feeling the motions of skiing and really rationing myself up to a point where the jump to skiing wasn't huge. It wasn't audacious. Now I had to buy a new skiing helmet, which cost a fortune. But I've got a new helmet now, so I'm planning to go again. But if you think you can do something, be bold and claim it. Take it. But get there by ratcheting up small steps at a time. Don't aim for a huge jump to make the goal happen. Make it a smaller jump so you know that you can hit it and be successful.
Do you feel like after doing that skiing, do you feel like unstoppable, that you can achieve like any of your goals at this point?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, like I just know if I put my mind to something, I can make it work. If I have enough time, I can make things happen. I can do things. Like I'm built different. I know that I can make things happen. Like this skiing goal was audacious, bold, like a moonshot goal in all capacity. And I hit the moon. But like, now I'm looking at what I'm trying to accomplish now. Do I think it's outrageous? Sure, why not? But do I think I can do it? Absolutely. And that's maybe a belief I have in myself, a confidence I have in myself that I think takes wins to accomplish. But you get there by just keeping those promises to yourself, right? Those laps in the pool, the sauna times, the wins in the sauna. I've done this for years, so I don't question if I can do it. I know that I've done this for weeks, months, days, and years. Like it's just like a muscle you flex and you grow and you grow. So it's by putting the reps in, you can get to the place where you can do this, but it's a lot of work to get there. But I mean, why not? Why can't you do it?
So do you have another big goal you're aiming to achieve in the near future?
Madison Square Garden, keynote speaking at Madison Square Garden.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
That is so audacious, I can't believe I said it aloud. But you know what, Daniel? I don't know why not. Like, why not? The story's good. I'm decent on stage. Like, I think I can make this happen, make this successful. You see yourself in my story. The goal is to see yourself in my story, not see how good I am. I don't tell the story to the Attaboys, look at how good you are, Dan. I tell it so you'd be like, you know what, I've felt this way in my life too. I did these brain scans a little while ago, Daniel. I'm a little off piece here, but I'll tell the story. Put this gel cap on your head, inject it with gel, ask you questions like computer, window, curtain, monitor, water bottle, coffee. See if your synapses fire or not. My results came back as average. I've had 2 emergency brain surgeries. Average is pretty good. I read this as shockingly average. I'm average? Ain't no way I'm average, man. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that's good. That means I'm no better or smarter than anyone I speak to. I've just been driven to go forwards, toes over the nose of my board, riding this wave down. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm average, man. That's what I mean. Like, just by putting the work and the reps in, Daniel, you can accomplish massive things, but you have to put the work in. I'm average, man. And look what I've been able to accomplish. If you would have, I walked into the ICU doctor's office in Charing Cross before I left London a couple years ago, and my doctor there burst into tears. She said, walking with an eye patch and a cane. And she didn't think I'd be walking or walking in there, that's for sure. But now, like, I've skied, I'm speaking on stages, I'm doing life, I'm chasing down life that I want. Like, you get to do this, man. Reframe the obstacles as opportunities, and you get to do this.
How can you recommend for somebody who has a very like big, scary goal to break it down to like smaller parts? Is there like any suggestion on how to do that?
What's the smallest step you can take to move towards your goal? And take that. After that, what's the smallest step you can take towards your goal and move to that? Step by step, you get closer to your goal. If you want to speak on stages, let's say, I don't know, record yourself speaking to your phone or go on podcasts. Like, I've been on probably 70, 80 podcasts by now, maybe 90. And I tell the story, so I kind of know what works and what doesn't work. So when I go on the stage and talk to your group, it's not the 21st time I'm on the stage, it's the 101st time telling the story. I know the pause, the patina, the feel that you want and your audience will be interested in. By putting in the work and the reps, you know what works and what doesn't work. But you can't fake that. You've got to put the work in to make that happen. You can't just wish you were there and teleport yourself to that end goal. Like, the journey is what you're chasing, right? Fall in love with the process of getting better with yourself, and the goal will come there when it's ready. Don't try to aim for the moon off the hop. The journey is what you need to get addicted to. The process of getting better, day in and day out, is what you have to really fortify yourself to be attracted to and like chase after. And that's what I'm doing now. It's just chasing down this goal with all my heart. And like, I know that if I keep working, if I keep grinding, I'll get there. Growing up, I went to school, I had to go to tutoring for math class a lot. And also I did take a lot of work with spelling. I was an atrocious speller. My dad, reframed it as, Dan, we have to practice more for spelling tests. So we practiced with him 3 times a week, and I started nailing my spelling tests and got to a point where I could nail that every time. Math class, I went to tutor in the morning before class. 8 a.m. tutorial for 30 minutes to get extra help on math. I hated it. This is so stupid. Why am I learning this math? But guess what? I passed math 11 because of this. I know if you put the work in, you can grind through it and you can accomplish big things, but it takes work to get there. You can't wish it gets better. You got to put the work in to make it happen. So I'd say get to work and work yourself towards your goals. Break down your goal to what's accomplishable, what you can control, and start focusing on that. But it takes work, it takes reps, it takes drive, it takes commitment to make this happen.
Now, you've spoken to some really big companies or organizations like Hootsuite, Spendex, the NHS. What messages, like in your speaking, have resonated the most with your audiences?
I think the mindset we talked about previously is so important because the mindset's for free, right? Like, you can change your mindset tomorrow. But by framing it up, is it the worst or the best? Hey, man, I never thought about it that way. When I speak and I share a story on stage and someone goes, oh, I never thought about it that way. That lights me up. That makes me feel like I've changed their perspective. The best feedback I got from my talks was at the outplaced rehab center in Wilson. Someone said, after Dan hear about his talk about swimming, before the intro, I used to swim a lot, but after the intro, I haven't swam because it's so difficult to get in the pool. I'm going to try swimming again. That single comment was the best comment I ever had because that's a catalyst for change. That means that he might have, maybe he's one and done and tried it once and said, this is for me. Maybe he's still swimming today because of my talk. When I first started swimming, I would get in the pool for 10 minutes and it changed from 45 to an hour. Change from 45 to an hour. Now I changed 5 minutes in the pool for an hour and a half. By ratcheting this up, right? Aim small, miss small. Before you know it, you've got massive gains here. But only by putting the work in and reps in can you get yourself there and improve your lot. So that was a rant and a half for you, Daniel, but that's kind of what I think the value of the talks is. And like that perspective shift, the worst, not the best. You get to do this, right? And like when you reframe things, step in that capacity, why can't you be successful? Why can't you accomplish your goals? Why can't you do this? Show me what you've done that you failed at that's prevented you from getting there. I haven't done any work yet, Dan, because it's not good enough. Well, then you're not going to get there because you're not putting the reps in to get yourself there. Only by failing can you improve and get better. Failure is so key for this.
What role did your friends, your family, the doctors play in the recovery? Did any of that support assist you? Or was it more like on your own, you said, with your mindset?
They were huge. I mean, without friends and family, I wouldn't be here today, Daniel, full stop. Mom and dad came home from Vancouver to be in London for a couple of years to help me get back my feet. Friends and my company, Hootsuite, was phenomenal. We got you. We got a spot for you. Get back when you're ready. That belief in myself that I could get back to a life and a job that I love, like, made all the difference for me. Mama often says the doctor saved my life, but Hootsuite allowed me to get my life back. They were so gracious and so supportive during this injury. They allowed me to get myself back on track and get back to work. That purpose gave me purpose, right? To get back to work, to get back to a job, to get back to a social standing that I felt comfortable in. But the friends and family were so key for this. They visited me in the hospital. My friend Claire came to visit me in the hospital from Vancouver. She went up to visit me in Scotland. When she visited me, I was in a wheelchair. You're doing so well, Dan. You're trying so hard here. Yeah, but I could try harder. When she came back down from Scotland, I was walking, albeit on the Zimmer frame, but I was walking. I wanted to prove her right. Another horse of motivation. They spurred me along to get better and showered me with praise that was probably some deserved and some undeserved, but it buoyed me up. It allowed me to get back and reframe this as an opportunity. That's why I speak now, because maybe you don't have the help I had. Maybe you don't have the support I had. Remember, I'm average. Support, friends and family, my job helped me get back on track in life. So I want to give you the hacks and the strategies I used to get back to life and be better than yesterday.
They all talked about like constructive optimism. Can you kind of explain what does that look like practically?
That's what I used to describe the walking and shooting Broadway story. So reframing stuff is like an optimistic point of view. So constructive optimism for me is like reframing something as like you're manufacturing this as a good thing. The worst know the best. And when that mindset shifts from the worst to the best, man, it gets pretty easy to navigate this, right? Like you get better at doing stuff and see this as an opportunity to get better. That subtle shift, the worst know the best, made all the difference for me. So constructive optimism is one of my hacks and one thing that really can help your group get better than yesterday.
Do you offer coaching or you just do speaking?
I don't offer coaching at this stage. I've been on podcasts, more keynote speaking work. Coaching could be an idea to get into, but I think for me, my bandwidth right now, I don't think that's really viable to do. Why? You think I'd be a good coach?
Yeah, for sure. Because you're so motivational, and that's like what a coach does. And you have a lot of like practical advice. You're not just like a cheerleader. Like you have a lot of practical advice. You're a very practical person.
Is delegating, because I never want to tell you what to do, but I tell you what I've done. And you take on board what works for you. And my vibe may not be right for everyone, right? Like I've given some talks recently. I never get 100% on the keynote talk on the results. So it was 98, 99%. One or two people don't like the talk because I tell you, like, control the controllables, take ownership for your stuff and navigate this change successfully. You know my story now. You're right. I know your story, but I can tell you what, if you're voting negative on my keynote, you're not doing well in life because I'm pushing up against those areas of difficulty, of frustration. Because say my talk's acceptance is the most important thing you can do. Acceptance slaps. That word wreaks havoc on people when they're in a bad spot. So you got to accept it and then you can move on from it. What do I mean by this? If you don't agree on the new terms, you're not playing on the field of play. You're trying to manipulate the field of play to fit what you want, but that's not the field of play. The field of play is right here. You got to accept this new field of play and adapt and accept this new field of play. So it slaps, man. If you don't want to hear that, you're not going to listen to my talk. I'm not going to accept this. You don't want my story down. I don't know your story, but I can tell you acceptance is the most important thing. Through all my setbacks, through all my fatigue and failure, like acceptance is the most important step you can take.
So what advice would you give to somebody who had life-altering setback, whether it's, some type of like physical injury or mental injury or something shocking?
I'm working on a new keynote now called Acknowledge, Accept, Adapt, AAA framework. And I give that advice to your group. Acknowledge, head. This happened to me. You got to think it. Accept is the heart. You got to feel it. You got to really feel like I've lost my job. I've had this injury. I've had a car crash. I got a DUI. You got to feel it. And the most tensional part, the most fun part for me is the adapt piece, how you can manipulate your environment to adapt to the new limitations in your surroundings. That's where you can tinker and have fun with and adapt to your surroundings. But only by acknowledging and accepting it can you get to the adapt piece. So you don't agree on the new terms. You're not accepting it. You're just wishing it was different. Wishing is not an active way to resolve your situation. Acceptance is key. Acceptance allows you to adapt to it. If you only adapt and you accept it. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. How important do you think gratitude is?
Gratitude is tremendously important for this. Like, I think gratitude underlines everything I do, right? That ought to be a human being or 4 and a trillion to 1. Like, I'm alive in the first place. I got that bat. It not woes me about this. Like, I get in that bat. It just so happens that that card's in my hand. Gratitude's huge for this. If you're all woes me and poopy pants about stuff, like, you're not wrong. It's not fair. But guess what? Life's not fair, man. If you switch it to gratitude to be like acceptance and like, you get to do this, you can improve and adapt your situation. Gratitude's a huge unlock for the situation and a huge skill for your group to take on board.
So you mentioned like you've also done some traveling. What's been like one of the most interesting places that you visited and why?
Yeah, I was in university. We took a semester off and went traveling, backpacking through Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia. A couple of my boys, and we surfed up the East Coast. Not very good surfers, but we, bought surfboards and did that whole dream. It was pretty fun. Got, not great, but not bad. We could get up on waves and paddle out through the sets and catch some great waves and have some fun there. But just living life on the road and, not having an iPhone at that stage. We just had a little flip phone. We had to make calls to our parents on our pay phones and checking internet cafes at the time was a bit more old school than traveling now. That was probably the most formative travel years, but I also traveled when I did my master's in Sweden. So I traveled around Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Northern Europe. I love travel. Travel is important in my life and really shifts my perspective on like how people live and navigate this. Because you see stuff from a different perspective. Oh, you look at things from this point of view. Well, I loved the Bourdain show. The name escapes me right now, but Bourdain had this great show where you get to see people break bread and chat about life. And you realize that everyone's the same over sharing a meal. Like everyone's got the same worries and concerns. And we're not so different, Everyone's got the same values, the same drives, the same worries, the same sorrows, the same happiness. Travel's a beautiful way to unlock that and experience life from a different point of view. And I think that's something that everyone should do in their lifetime.
Well, Dan, if somebody had like questions about our conversation today or are interested in hiring you as a keynote speaker, what are the best ways they can reach out to you?
I've got a website, MacQueen Dan, MacQueen, Dan.com. We'll have that linked in the show notes. Feel free to reach out on there. There's a form, and also MacQueen Dan across the socials. That's MacQueen Dan.
Dan, do you have any like final message you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up our podcast for today?
Remember that you get to do this. The odds of being a human being are 400 trillion to 1. Every time you go, woes me, this isn't fair, remember that statistic. You get to do this. You get to struggle, to fail, to strive, to lose, to love. All the sorrow, the hardship makes all the winning and love so much more beautiful. Reframing in that perspective will allow you to navigate this change successfully. You get to do this.
Dan, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I mean, when we talked last time in our introduction call, I was very excited to interview you. I think you're a phenomenal speaker and motivator, and I think you're going to be helping so many. You've already helped a lot of people, and so thank you so much for coming on the show to help our audience as well. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much for everything that you're doing now and you're helping so many people.
Daniel, thank you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and success, brother.